Hello, everyone. Um, I'm David Voller, and the character trait I chose for this project was respect. So let's get right into it. So for an introduction, I put down that according to the Joseph Institute of Ethics, respect is one of the 12 ethical principles. Respect is also considered to be one of the 6 moral values, along with trust, honesty, courage, fairness, and caring, as you can see in the picture. Um, so I put that in there just because I thought respect would it's very important to the values we have as people, and it's a great way to start off this project. My personal definition is I define respect as caring for others regardless of their abilities or difference and putting other people first. Essentially, it's just following the golden rule, which is treating people like you would want to be treated. Um, a big part of respect is just treating people that way and kind of putting them before you and respecting other people for their differences and what they're good at, what they're not good at. Some characteristics of respect, and I'll go through these pretty quick. Um, Caring for someone or their characteristics, kind of like I just said, just because they're different doesn't make you better or worse than them. Just respecting them for who they are, whether they're a great athlete or maybe someone with special needs. Respecting boundaries, we all have different things of what we like to talk about, what we're okay to do, and just respecting the wants and needs of other people. It's always important to be a good listener and show you respect them by, carefully listening to what they have to say, paying attention to them, focusing on what they're saying, and not just pretending to listen, blowing it off. Just taking some time out of your day for someone, if they want to speak to you about something going on in their life, they might need help with something, just showing them that respect that, like, hey, you are important to me, and I will come over and help you out for a little bit, and maybe a small amount of time that might mean nothing to you, but to them it can mean the world. Being accountable, being on time, and doing what you say you're going to do are the next 3 that are all kind of the same to me. Um, Saying what you're going to do is huge. If you don't do what you say you're going to do, how are people going to respect you? And if you're not being on time, if you're showing up late, you're not respecting their time and you're not being accountable to them, to yourself. So it's important that as leaders, we show respect to others by doing those 3 things. Again, treating others the way you want to be treated, that golden rule. It's a great way to gain respect from people fast. Being peaceful and letting go of anger. There's no point to holding a grudge, to just staying angry for something maybe small, maybe large for an excessive period of time. Peace is better, letting go of that anger so you can move forward and just respect them, respect the situation of what happened, and just go on. And then being trustworthy is the last one I have. If someone can't trust you, how are they going to have your respect, and vice versa? If you can't trust me, you're not going to respect me. So if you're trustworthy towards someone, you're more likely to gain their respect and have their respect. So an example of respect in sports, I chose a video clip from Coach Carter. In that, he right away addresses them as sirs as a sign of respect, and he wants to be called sir in return. He also addresses the boys by their last name all the time, like you hear Mr. Cruz. And he just says right away that that's a sign of respect. And then he talks about how it's a sign of we're going to show respect to others and ourselves. Sir is a part of that. And then also when they're using the N word, how that's not respecting yourself. When Mr. Cruz was disrespectful and kind of making fun of him for calling him sir, he was asked to leave the gym, setting the tone there that if you respect me, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the team. And if not, this isn't the place for you. And you could tell that, especially after Mr. Cruz threw a punch, that the team kind of like, this guy means business, he's serious, we should respect him. So that was just a great example of respect in sports and how important it is and how quickly you can gain it by doing the right things. Good quote with that is Steven Seidler said, you don't demand respect, you earn it. If you demand respect, you're not always likely to get it. Respect is something that is earned and not given, and it's quickly to lose. So you earn it by the things you do, by having those characteristic traits we talked about at the start of this presentation. Also, R.G. Risch said, respect is a two-way street. If you want to get it, you've got to give it. So just kind of going back to what I said earlier, in order to have respect, you have to give respect. If you respect other people, they're more likely to respect you. If you do what you're going to say you're going to do, you're on time, you're trustworthy, they're going to respect you, and then you're going to respect them in return. If they're kind of have that same mentality, same people. So how respect applies to coaching. Respect is earned and can quickly be lost. As a coach, You come in with a certain level of respect because of that title as a coach, but if you're not doing the right things, saying what you're going to do, playing favorites, that your athletes can quickly lose your respect. So you want to respect your athletes, respect their time, know that sports might not always be the most important thing in their life, and they're going to respect you when something comes up as well, or if you make a mistake. Doing what you say you were going to do is very important. You know, if I make a practice demand or a practice plan, and I got to follow through on it, especially with when you get into rules of the team. If you kind of like say, if you miss a practice, you can't swim in the meet, but a girl misses a practice or a guy, and you allow them to swim the meet, all the other athletes are going to lose respect because you're not seeing what you're going to do. Treat people fairly doesn't necessarily mean equal, but treat them fairly. So you're following the rules correctly, no matter who they are, and just like that, stick to your policies regardless of the athlete. If you're changing it based on athletes you like or not, you're going to quickly lose your respect of parents and your team. And then finally, just respecting officials, respecting opposing teams. We'll get into more of that later. So Bill Welsh, he has a quote here. I'll just read it quickly. People thrive on positive reinforcement. They can take only a certain amount of criticism and you may lose them altogether. If you criticize them in a personal way, you can make a point without being personal. Don't insult or belittle your people. Instead of getting more out of them, you will get less. So by respecting people, respecting your athletes, you're going to get more out of them. Essentially kind of what he's saying. The more they like you, the more they respect you, the more willing they're going to go the extra mile for you. If you're not respected, you're going to have a tougher time getting something out of your athletes. So to gain the respect of your athletes, got to motivate them as coaches. That's our biggest thing we need to do. And you have to care about them too, as people, not just as your athlete, as a football player, basketball player, swimmer. My former athletic director told me that caring about people is more important than what you know. If you care about them, they're willing to do anything for you. And as I've became a coach through the years, that's one thing I've noticed definitely rang true. When they know you care about them, they are willing to go the extra mile. Again, doing what you say you're going to do, being professional, being on time, anything like, just being a professional goes a long way to earning their respect. And then earning the respect of the parents is also extremely important, because if your parents respect you, you're going to have an easier time making progress with their kids, easier time with booster relations, and they'll have your back, and they're going to go, your athletes are going to go home and the parents are going to say good things about you rather than sending a different message. Albert Camus said nothing is more despicable than respect based on fear. If they respect you only out of fear, they're not willing to do as much for you as if they respect you for what you're doing because you care about them. So I took the Season of Life quote in chapter 15 when they were playing the Poly Prep, and how the Poly Prep coach was just belittling the officials at the end of the game during the kneel downs, and his own team, he was just yelling at them the whole time. And by the end of the game, when they were kneeling down, they had to cut it off early because of his actions, even though they were winning. And when Mr. Marks reached out for him, he called him an uninformed silly man, and just shows a big lack of respect for the game and for his team and for the other team and their families. We, as officials, we need to respect opposing teams and officials. So not yelling or screaming at officials. They make mistakes. They're humans, just like we as coaches do, just like our parents do. Don't intend to injure an opponent. Speak kindly towards and about opponents. Treat them as equals. Don't run up the score. And then at the end, win or lose, a post-game